Hello, everybody. I'm Trenton Moyer, and we are here interviewing artist Stephen Holman. He has done work in the fields of animation, performance art, and paintings. Today, we are going to be primarily talking about his experience as a creator, writer, designer on various stop motion and mixed media projects, including the Life with Loopy segments for Nickelodeon's KaBlam and the bite-sized adventures of Sam Sandwich for Disney. How are you doing today, Stephen?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. No, I'm
Yeah,
doing
thank
fine.
you. Thank you for being here. So I guess I was going to start off asking you a question about Life with Loopy.
Okay.
Just from watching it, and for those of you who haven't watched it, it's a really, really sweet, charming show. Um, like the family dynamic that you have going on. Like Loopy is such a sweet character. Her brother occasionally gets just a little bit annoyed with her, but like the family dynamic overall is pretty sweet and healthy. I was just curious, like, do you have for the characters, was there like a real life inspiration or was it inspired from other like animated or like written works for the family?
For the family, um, not, I don't think it was specifically. Maybe my own family to a certain, I guess you can't get away from that, right? It's,
Totally.
if you're going to get inspired by a family, you might as well get inspired by your own. Um, in a way, some elements of the family were those kind of typical sort of 50s, 60s, early American sitcom kind of families in some ways. I mean, I think the mom and dad are a bit like that. And then the kids, I think, are not like that. So, it was sort of, kind of taking some of the tropes from those sort of families and also twisting them around a little bit.
Totally. I could totally see that, especially with the dialogue that the dad has. Just rewatching
Yeah,
some today.
that's right.
Did you know it was going to be part of KaBlam when you were when you were producing the segments for it?
No, well, no, that was interesting. We actually had I mean, I'd created a show called We Are The Shrimpskins for Nickelodeon, and which ended up only being a really small short. It got aired, but we had a big development deal for that. And that just some development deals just go on and on for ages. And they threw in as a sort of like, hey, can you also do this a little, a short series for us for free at the same time, kind of thing. And that is what ended up being Loopy and Shrimpskins basically, didn't really turn into very much at all. But Loopy ended up, and then they had, because I think sometimes all the timing just has to click. And KaBlam had just started and they were looking for new stuff. And then they realized they had a deal with me for the Loopy thing. So they were like, okay, how about we put Loopy on KaBlam? And then it all
Totally.
started.
Wow, I definitely wasn't expecting that. I figured from the beginning, yeah.
No, it's
Oh,
weird
so
how
wait.
things go sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Since you brought up the Shrimpskins, I just watched that today
Oh,
online.
cool.
So did you have like other segments for it like already written before?
Yeah, Shrimpskins was going to be a full like live action series. The whole concept with the Shrimpskins was it was, live action series shot like a Warner Brothers cartoon with loads of, sped up sequences and slowed down. Really just shoot it like a cartoon, really. Um, and it was going to be a full series, yeah. And it ended up, like often, I mean, I've had many series in development and for one reason or another, they never get to actual production. And Shrimpskins, at least we'd made that one short, but it was intended for a big series. Yeah.
Totally. Now the approach from tackling stop motion like uh a series that's more predominantly stop motion that has some mixed media in contrast to doing a short that's like mainly fully live action, is there like a big difference in how you tackle creatively a project like that and how you write it and
For mixed
direct it?
media, yeah, the writing really not so much. But going into production on it is complicated. Yeah, I mean, which I sort of love as well. It's like a puzzle. It's with Loopy. Um, I mean, I love mixed media. I came from, doing crazy performance art shows, and I've done a lot of, I mix things up all the time. I love cross-fertilization and mixing media together and different genres and crushing them together. I love all that stuff. It sort of it freshens everything up, and it makes people who are watching go, what the heck am I looking at? Which I love. But yeah, as far as production, it's tricky. With Loopy, um, I wanted to be as bold as possible. I did not want sort of dated looking computer generate. I mean, these days, I mean, this is, we're talking 25 years ago now. Back in those days, blue screen and all of those things were just not quite as good. So I was trying to avoid blue screen and putting, and stop motion together with live action on a blue screen situation. I did not want to do. So I just wanted to be much more sort of punk about it, really. So we created, when I had to break everything down before we started, obviously, on storyboarding everything, but also deciding what was going to be stop motion animation and what was going to be live humans and what was going to be live puppetry. Those are the sort of three major things. And part of that decision is part of the creativity. Wouldn't that be fun if we had Loopy walks in as a stop motion puppet, reaches into a drawer, and when you reach into the drawer, you cut to a close up where it's a live action hand pulling out a fork or whatever from the drawer. And so a lot of those decisions of how to make it mixed media were kind of based on goofiness. Wouldn't it be great if she's just sitting there talking to a live human being? But if we did that, we didn't do, like I say, blue screen. We'd create a corner of the set that was live action scale. If it was a human character that had to match with the lighting and the set decoration, the miniature set that Loopy was animated on. And it was all about just clever cutting rather than clever editing rather than relying on technology quite as much.
Wow,
Yeah.
totally. And I definitely agree that like mixed media and like the shock of like what on earth is happening, it just adds something so much more exciting about
Yeah.
watching what and stop motion is already exciting on its own, but it makes it even more
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
I just since we were on the topic of projects that didn't like become fully like realized, I was gonna ask you about I guess like fully like air to TV is what I mean.
Sure.
Um, when I saw your website a while back, because what led me to interviewing you today was just looking up. I was just trying to think of. I was just curious, like who had worked on stop motion segments of stuff that I watched when I was younger. And I'm like, well,
Right.
who did the animation for Sam Sandwich? Because I used to love that on Disney.
Right. Good. Good.
So, and then I just like found out all this stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, like it kind of blew my mind. If I would have been growing up when KaBlam was airing, I bet I would have been all over that because Life with Loopy's awesome.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was curious about that Danny and in Bubbleworld pilot
Right.
because
Right.
like nowadays, like a lot of pilots, there's a decent amount of info out there online, but I was pretty surprised. Like I don't think it's been like super extensively covered anywhere.
No, I mean, I think probably because that never aired. I think the only place you can see that's probably on our website.
Okay.
No, that was, I think it was probably in the late 90s, somewhere in between. We did 4 seasons of Loopy in the late 90s. I think it ran from 96 to 2000. And then in the middle of those, we were doing other various pilots and, trying to get other stuff going at the same time. And one of those was Danny in Bubbleworld. I mean, I grew up in the 60s, so my influences as a little kid, I was a little kid in the 60s, were like the Sid and Marty Krofft, Puff and Stuff, Sigmund the Sea Monster, those kind of things. I loved those shows. So I wanted to do a show that was fully live action, that was, people in walk around suits, basically. So I sold an idea to Nick Jr., which was called Danny in Bubbleworld, which was an underwater adventure series. And yeah, all the characters were in these really pretty sophisticated, partially animatronic walk around suits in full live action underwater sets. And we only made what you can see on our website, which is a very short pilot, really, basically. And yeah, it never flew. And which happens sometimes. And sometimes projects they get canned at different stages of their, so sometimes it gets canned before it even gets filmed. Bubbleworld was filmed, thank goodness, at least. But I think that one just didn't test well. I don't know what they do actually these days, but it's certainly a process of testing once you've made something. And I think there was just a decision not to go forward with it, but which was a shame because I loved that thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I from looking at the picture stylistically, it looked really cool.
Yes, it was a beautiful looking show. And I was working in San Francisco at the time. In the 90s, nearly everything I made was made in San Francisco. And so we had an incredible talent pool of people who worked on those shows from all the, I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas, the Tim Burton stuff was being made. James and the Giant Peach was being made, and the crews, the stop motion animators, and also there was ILM was operating at the time up there, all the Star Wars stuff. And so the talent pool of amazing fabricators, animators, cinematographers was all around us all the time. So a lot of the people who worked on the stuff I made, I was lucky to have these incredible, talented professionals working with me. So yeah.
It's awesome. Uh, when it comes to like the full-bodied suits, was that something that people in with your company did, or did you like outsource that to somewhere else?
No, it was all my company. Yeah. Yeah. I have this production company called Wholesome Products. And no, we just, all you get from we really produced the entire thing ourselves. Being in San
Wow.
Francisco, we got the money obviously from the big networks, but after that, it was all, we had to figure out the budgets, what was going to be spent on what, how it was going to be made, everything from the ground up. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's part of the fun, excuse me, stop motion and shows like the Bubble World one. You're in a sort of Santa's workshop environment where not too many people are working on computers. They're just building things for real, incredible costuming and miniature sets out of nothing, wood and glue and paint. And it's all very Santa's workshop-y, which I love. I love that stuff.
That's awesome. I bet that would make going into work really fun every day.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Yeah, yeah.
I was curious. Right now on your website, I believe there's a couple clips in your show reel from it. Like, is there any chance that the full thing will be released to the public, or is there something through Nickelodeon where that's not
Bubble
allowed?
World, Danny and Bubble
Yeah.
World.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't think so. It's too probably long got far gone down the, too far away. I mean, I would have
Okay.
to go back to them and repitch, and I'm not sure. It would be. I know now you're bringing it up. I mean, I wouldn't say never, but it's difficult to get at the moment. It's difficult pitching. I mean, I'm working on children's books and other things as well at the moment, just because I'm diversifying, and I'm a painter these days as well, So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see.
Totally. I also meant like the actual like original pilot. Like, is
Oh,
there a
the
chance for
original,
that
the
being
original.
released to the public, or is that
I'm not sure. It's true. I mean, now you're bringing it up. Maybe I'll look into that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay?
That would be nice, huh? Yeah. Okay.
Totally. Um, and bridging off that, and since you brought up your paintings as well, uh, like stylistically, the colors, uh, I guess did you want to talk about your influences with like aquatic creatures and like underwater? Like I
Sure,
noticed a
sure.
lot of your paintings have like that sort of theming around them.
Yeah, no, I mean, my history sort of, my made I 20 years of my life was all about animation. And then since then, so since maybe for the last 10 years or so, I've really started to just make a lot of my own artwork. And a lot of that is underwater themed. I've been scuba diving here in California for about 25 years.
Oh
And I
man.
love doing that. I love the underwater. And I kind of grew up on, again, going back to my roots. Another thing I was really influenced by when I was growing up was do you know the Jerry Anderson series from England, like Thunderbirds? But there was one called Stingray, which was an underwater one, all live puppetry and miniatures and underwater sets and things like that. And I also loved all the Jacques Cousteau specials, and grew up with all of that kind of thing as well, life aquatic kind of stuff, right? So yeah, I learned to scuba dive here in California 25 years ago, and I do a lot of diving. So about 10 years ago, I decided I would just, not too many people paint underwater subject matter, especially underwater scenes where etc. I'm trying to convey what it feels like to be diving underwater as well as the marine life. So I guess I'm hugely attracted to underwater stuff. Don't know why that is. I used to have underwater dreams a lot, and I can dive and go underwater. I have them less, but for years and years, I had huge amounts of underwater dreams where I'd be swimming underwater. So I don't know. Who knows these mysterious things? I don't know.
Totally. Um, do you think that a lot, like the your fascination with that, like has influenced like the colors that you utilize in other projects? Like I know Life with Loopy had like a lot of really like vivid colors.
Yeah. I think it does. I think it's all connected. Yeah, underwater creatures are, there's a lot of bright colors, and just the fact, I think that's a combination of, I would say, yeah, the marine life thing. Um, and also, here's another crazy reference, really. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, punk was going on in London before I moved to America. I grew up in England, and I was punk, like back in 79 to about 83. I moved to America in 1984. And all around that time, it was punk and post-punk music, and all the idea of color being something that was both rebellious and, dyeing your hair crazy colors was, it was pretty, outrageous in those days. People do it a little more often, and it's a little, it's not quite as outrageous as it used to be. But I think the idea of color being something that got people's attention and I loved also comes from that as well. So it's like the world of nature and yeah, growing up punk. Color
Totally.
is special to me. I really do enjoy in my paintings. I don't often use, or very, very seldom use, black paint. Only because black is a really powerful color, to use, or lack of color, or it's a powerful force in visuals. But to not use black means it's all just colors bouncing off of one another. Like the colors you have on right now, which are very loopy colors. I don't know if you did that on purpose,
I
but
was
that
thinking that earlier, yeah.
it
Sorry.
looks
Yeah.
good. But no, it's effective, and in my daily life, I wear a lot of plaid and bright colors too. I just, makes the world a better place as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I was going to ask too. I'm sorry, this is kind of off a little bit of a off from where we were at, but I watched the short that you did years ago, the Pigeon and the Onion Pie.
Oh yeah,
I was curious, did you want to talk about that at all? And like that was Sam Sandwich too. I was curious
right,
what your process of like approaching characters that are supposed to look like food is.
right. Well, Sam Sandwich, yeah, I love that show. That's a fun little show. I'm glad you like that one. It was, yeah, that was Disney Junior, and approaching food, it was really, I wanted to do a superhero show where everyone was food, like it was sort of set in the future. The villains were food, and the good guys, the idea of a superhero sandwich. I like the idea of. So it was the how that show sold was that pitched it to Disney Junior at a time when they, again, it's when these various elements suddenly click. It's partly luck, partly just, I don't know, fate, whatever. I don't know what it is. But they were looking for a show that taught kids, good food to eat, what was good for them, what was bad for them, blah, blah, blah. So they realized that my superhero food show would be perfect for that. So that's when they bought it, So as the attitude to food in that was, yeah, it was definitely making kids in a fun way, learn what's healthy, what isn't healthy. On the other hand, we were pretty irreverent with that show. It's not like a kids, you got to eat this kind of food. It's not sort of an infomercial at all. It's pretty ridiculous. So, but yeah, food's another interesting medium.
Totally. How did you like, what was Sam himself? How did you make it look like bread? Because I know it's not like insanely hyper realistic, but it looks like fairly
Yeah,
quite a bit like real bread. Like I feel like you could fool some people with
yeah.
thinking it was
Sure. No, it's when you again with stop motion animation and making all this stuff, so much of it is research into what materials are going to work, for your because it has to animate. I mean, Sam was that, and there's different. I mean, he was the bread slices are a foam, but there's loads of different kinds of foam. It's painted foam too. So we did a lot of experimentation with different versions of him, and which what looks most like bread but also is able to be completely animatable, because he had a structure inside him so that every part of him could be moved into place. What you have to do with stop motion animation, which is everything has to be rock solid. You cannot have things, the animator has to move a little piece and then it has to stay there while you film it, not sort of slowly bend out of shape. So a lot of this is a lot of research. Yeah.
totally. How did that work with, so like the structure of it, like with the mouth? Did it have some sort of like a armature structure inside, like to hold up
Yeah,
the mouth? Okay.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. The mouth itself, if I remember, was actually a wire. Sometimes, if you the main animation, you have actual armatures, which are these beautifully made. So the main interior workings of a stop motion, if you're using it, and they cost a lot of money, the proper armatures too. So you choose your budget, you budget which characters need a full steel armature, but then there's little bits of them that just wire is going to work fine. And when you're starting with stop motion animation, most people just use wire. You can twist it around, make it stronger, different kinds of wires again. But his mouth was absolutely yeah, just like a wire embedded within the sponge that the animator can move up and down. And eventually those wires snap, and then you have to switch the whole thing out and remake. I mean, there were lots of Sam sandwiches because they break all the time, just because of wear and tear, because the animators are using them all the time. So,
Totally.
but I've done quite a lot of. I mean, Loopy was an entirely different. There was Loopy and her parents and the main characters were all of their mouths and their eyes and their eyelids and all that were magnets, like fridge magnets, flat magnets that we printed their features onto. And then their faces were flat wood pieces with a metal plate on top of that and then painted on top of that so that the animators could quite quickly switch out all the features on the faces. And they were magnets basically, which I don't think anyone had ever done before, as far as I know. It was a sort of a new technique.
Totally. It's so distinct. Like
Yeah.
watching those for the first time, it blew my mind. Like it made me think of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Gendy Tartakovsky's work, like with Hotel Transylvania.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah,
it made me think of like how he brought like 2D elements to CG, that what you did for Loopy. It made me think like it like invokes like 2D animation with like the faces, but like it's like physically, it's just such a cool look to it. It's very
yeah.
impressive.
No, that was exactly. I mean, 90s animation was very, very much about doing things that that made kids stop and go, "Wow, what's that?" And it already. I mean, I worked on Pee-wee's Playhouse. That was my first animation job, working on one of the animations on that. And from Pee-wee on, the mentality of what the networks wanted on kids' television was stuff that just looked like nothing else on earth. And it was that's what made it such a great time to be doing stuff around that era, because they wanted stuff that looked bizarre. So
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
I was saying, oh, the uniqueness of the loopy look, 2D. I don't know if that. Hopefully, you caught that. Yeah, the 2D elements within a 3D environment was exactly what wanted out of loopy. Yeah.
Definitely. I was curious. I don't. I know we're getting close on time. Uh, After watching that Pigeon and Onion Pie short, is there
Oh yeah.
like a deeper meaning to it, or because in my head I didn't know if it was like someone saying like friends and family like giving their all into supporting somebody else, or if I didn't know if it was intentional, like a deeper meaning, or if it was just like
Right,
wild.
Pigeon and the Onion Pie. It was definitely partly sort of Dr. Seussian weirdness for its own sake, but it was also um, the idea of I mean, I think there's a lot of tragedy in that way. You know, a lot of kind of two characters caring for one another and inspiring the other one. You know, when it's the pie sacrifices itself, basically. But I'm thinking, I'm trying to, because I haven't thought about the pigeon and the onion pie for a little while. And then at the end, you've got that kind of, I can fly, I can fly, I can fly. I think it is all very much about um, inspiration and taking off, and someone, sacrificing themselves to give the gift of creativity to someone else in some ways. That's sort of it. But it is also ridiculous. It's supposed to be a bit ridiculous. But I think everything I do has levels. There's a sort of a really silly top level. And then hopefully there's some sort of deeper ideas down the bottom that kind of actually move you a little bit.
Totally. Oh
And
yeah.
it's same with Loopy. I mean, Loopy was very much, absolutely zany show, but the idea of having a girl character, I mean, Larry, her brother, was a bit of he was the dork. The girl character was the one who was actually creative, imaginative, adventurous, doing all the stuff, and was not just another warrior princess. She was just a normal girl, but with a big imagination. So that to me is certainly at the time, and I think still is to a certain extent, fairly subversive and really, kind of just again pushes against the boundaries a little bit. There's too many. I like pushing against, tropes are fine, but cliches start to get boring. So I like to
Oh,
change things up a bit.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, because I know stylistically, like, Life with Loopy and Phantom Investigators, like, have like the similar style of like the faces.
Right.
Um, and I noticed watching through, like, the Snow Lady on one of the Life with Loopies and the Onion Pie and Sam Sandwich, like, all have like a very similar like eye look, like the like blue, like
Yeah, that's
shiny-ish
right.
bead. Like,
Yeah.
do you have any favorite aspects or like favorite design choices that like you keep across your different projects, like little quirks here and there?
I guess there, yes, I mean, I it does depend. Yes, you've sort of nailed the two main eye looks that I use, and they are very different. Is the that sort of using those little clear beads when you hit them with light gives the like Snow Lady, like Sam Sandwich, like Salad Lad. They all had those little. What's great about those is that if you hit them with real light, the shine on them gives them life, makes the characters look like those little eyes really are alive. And that's very much about what stop motion is, taking absolutely inert materials and giving them life. So using the right materials that help with that, that look organic, that actually have, yeah, those very shiny little beads are cool as hell, because they're like our eyes to a certain extent. Our pupils have this shininess that give us life that. Um, and then the loopy eyes are, that she has herself. I guess that's just my drawing style in a way. It's a very different look, but I think a lot of cartoons have big eyes. It's the window to the soul and all of that stuff. It's eyes are
Yeah,
very, very important. They really are. Yeah.
definitely. Um, I was just gonna ask before we went, I don't want to hold you up past your too much past your time, but was there any, I know you said the children's book series, and was there like any upcoming projects you wanted to briefly mention or like shout out to if it's close enough to release?
Sure, I can't talk too much about the children's book, but it is an underwater themed thing.
Nice.
And it's coming out. It's scheduled to come out on Christie Ottaviano Books, which are a division of Little Brown Publishers. And it's
Okay.
going to come out as a soft cover series and a hard cover series. Um, each of them is 130 pages long. It's a lot of drawing.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and it's and I can't tell you much more about it at the moment. But if you go, I'll talk about. I mean, I have my it'll all the details will be on my Instagram account, which is Stephen Holman Art, one word. And also I have my website is stephenholmanart.com. So it'll all be on that. And it's coming out, I believe, around September or October next year. So yeah,
Awesome.
and it'll yeah.
I'll have to keep up and check out your updates. I bet that'd be really cool to see. Your artwork is really awesome.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Well, I don't want to hold you up anymore.
Okay. If you have
Thank
one, I guess if you have one more question you're dying to ask, we could do one more maybe if you'd like to.
um oh, I guess going back to like pilots and projects that didn't make it to full series, like as someone who would have like I would eventually love to be able to like helm a movie or a show years from now. Do you have any advice for like how to deal with if your idea gets rejected and it doesn't come to fruition?
Um, I think the main thing is it'll happen a lot. You know, you kind of just have to, you really, the main thing is don't let go of the idea. You know, if it's, I mean, I have so many ideas from the past that 5 years later I'll resuscitate, you know, like as a like I say, as a comic book series, or I'll change one element of it and then repitch it. You know, it's ideas, just don't let your ideas go away. If it's a good, strong idea, it just because somebody decided for whatever reason to say no to it, that doesn't mean that you should lose confidence in that idea. You know, bring it back again, twist it around. You know, there's always, you can always tweak an idea too. And like I said, you know, with the examples with Sam Sandwich, sometimes it's just that the time isn't right yet for that idea, and that you know you have to. There's a little bit of luck involved. You know, just keep going at it. If an executive or whoever's making the decisions has something in mind that they are looking for that happens to coincide with exactly what you're pitching, that's when, you know, gold happens. You know, it's and if it could be that your idea is fantastic and just doesn't hit that moment yet, you know, just stick with it. Stick with it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's really
Okay,
great advice.
cool.
Um, thank you so much for your time and for being willing to do this. It
You're
was great
welcome.
meeting you. I love your work. It's
Thank
really
you.
cool to watch through. Like I wanted to like refresh my mind a little bit before us talking, but to get
Yeah,
into that mood. But it's just awesome. All the stuff you've done is really cool. So thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's fun talking about it.
Totally. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this first installment of MPS Etc. Interview Division. Thank you very much to my first guest, Stephen Holman. Make sure to check out his socials right here, his Instagram and his website if you're interested. He has some really, really cool underwater art as discussed in the video. And here are the credits of where I got the footage and stuff from, because never done something like this before, and I might be a little bit spooked if companies are gonna come get me. But this will hopefully reassure me a little bit. MPS Etc. Production 2026. Well, that's a first. Well, maybe not, because there was one other video. Oh, okay, bye.